Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Aiden Weather Forecast. And this is going to be a video here watching the massive snowstorm plus some significant severe weather to occur within the next 3 days due to the same low pressure here. So we're going to be seeing that really warm air to the south central with that really cold air up in the west. So we're going to really be seeing a ton of instability here as well, a ton of shear and moisture. So definitely good atmospheric conditions for severe weather to develop, mainly Texas and Oklahoma. Specifically tomorrow, we have an enhanced risk. And as well, for the snowstorm part, we actually have blizzard warnings, like I already mentioned a few days ago what happened. So we have a blizzard up here for portions of the western plains where we can possibly see over 5 feet of snowfall. Absolutely crazy what we're going to be seeing here for the next few days over the weekend. But before we get in the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and the bell icon if you have not already done so. But let's go ahead and jump into the forecast. So this is a look at the National Weather Service, and it's going to be a very similar scenario what we have right now in the alerts right now. It's going to be very, very similar scenario what we'll be seeing tomorrow. I guess it's a little sneak peek or foreshadowing of what can occur. But, of course, blizzard warning kind of exactly where I said they will be, right there in southern Wyoming, portions of western Nebraska. This is typically what we see at this time of the year. The snowiest month for these regions is actually March, so definitely not shocking. However, the shocking part is that we're going to be seeing 5-6 feet, not just in the mountains, but as well outside the mountains. And that's the only shocking part here. But warnings have been issued across those higher elevations as well, just outside those mountains into western Nebraska and western South Dakota. As well, a few warnings there in southern Utah. But blizzard warnings are in effect there near Cheyenne, Wyoming, the southeastern tip, as well far northwestern Nebraska, there in the suburbs. Warnings in the Pink County, stretching those higher elevations there across Utah there, and as well as stretching their way down to Denver there, Colorado Springs, much of eastern Wyoming, and as well portions of western South Dakota and Nebraska. And of course, there's advisories kind of the outer parts there, some portion in the mountains, but other than that, kind of staying in those little foothills mainly, except for western Colorado. There will be some of those really high elevations. However, that snow's going to kind of be more limited to where that actual low pressure is going to be. And then, of course, we've got the severe weather part of this, I guess, severe weather, or I guess this weekend event here. Tornado watches in portions of New Mexico and Texas. And we actually just a few minutes ago had a confirmed tornado just outside Lubbock, Texas there. So that's going to be a very similar scenario to what we're going to be seeing specifically tomorrow. We have an enhanced risk right in this general region here. And a severe thunderstorm warning issued across western Oklahoma, and of course, going to be some big time severe weather across these areas. However, the biggest threat, specifically for areas in Missouri and as well Kansas, will be the flooding here. That severe weather, the most severe weather, will kind of stay, of course, toward the south central, but we will see some severe storms moving in the area, specifically by Sunday in these areas, and then later into Monday, kind of moving to the southeast here. But that's kind of what we have in the alerts so far right now. So this is a look now at the day one outlook here. So of course we have that kind of slight risk in the upper panhandle there of Texas and as well portions of western Oklahoma. And that's kind of where we had our tornado today just a few minutes ago. Right there in northwestern Texas there. Slight risk, and that includes Lubbock, Texas, Amarillo, Plainview, Atlas, and as well Pampa into mainly the Texas and Oklahoma regions there. We also have a marginal stretching all the way up into the portions of the Ozarks and as well portions all the way as far west as New Mexico. That includes Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita Norman, and Wichita Falls. So really across a widespread area, mainly the south central and southern plains. So obviously today we did have a pretty strong tornado, at least a strong reading, and it was definitely quite impressive. So definitely gonna really relieve the question for tomorrow here, as we have a 10% chance hatch risk for tomorrow, and today we just had a 5% chance. So that's gonna really lead to some potential for some interesting weather throughout tomorrow here. So there is the enhanced risk right there and far, kind of right in the Oklahoma and Texas border there. So kind of the rural areas outside the big cities, we only have we don't actually really have an actual real population, only 135,000. So really barely really anything necessarily. However, we still have areas that can get impacted quite hard by this severe weather. Obviously, 135,000 is a lot of people, but again, it's considering what a lot of people is It's not that much, but you know what I mean. It's a good amount, but obviously not too much. But obviously, it's still a lot of people that have a good just to have an enhanced risk, specifically in early March. Alice, Oklahoma, Pampa, Texas, however you want to say that, and Elk City, Oklahoma is where you have those enhanced risks for today, or sorry, tomorrow, and that's where we have our highest risk for tornadoes and a 10% chance hatched slash significant risk there. And the slight risk, though, we have around a pretty good amount of people, 1.2 million people across Amarillo, Abilene, Wichita Falls, Lawton, and San Angelo, all the way down near the Texas border. And the marginal includes 2.1 million people there, so kind of more limited. Sorry, not more limited, more widespread. So there you see we have a significant severe risk for tornadoes tomorrow, hatched risk, and that includes Atlas, Oklahoma, and Elk City, Oklahoma. So definitely if you're in that general region where we have that yellow and that kind of crossed black lines, which is the significant risk, I would definitely be on the lookout tomorrow and have a plan just in case, because what we just saw today, a few minutes ago, could definitely happen tomorrow. And then the 10% chance, of course, only kind of Atlas and Elk City. Population, though, in that significant risk is only 84,000. So good thing is it's kind of more in rural areas, so we don't have to really have a big threat of a huge population at threat. However, still rural areas can see still obviously some big damage. So definitely you don't want anybody to be in a 10% chance hatch risk. That means a greater probability of EF2 or EF5 tornadoes within 25 miles of that really area. So definitely strong tornadoes likely or possible. Widespread 5% chance across areas than 343,000 people. So a lot more widespread than include Abilene, Pampa, Texas, Borger, Texas, Woodward, Oklahoma, and Vernon, Texas, and a 2% chance there for 1.3 million people across Amarillo, Wichita Falls, San Angelo, and Del Rio. So even if you're in a 5 or 2% chance, there's still a chance for tornadoes. Obviously, we've had multiple occurrences where we've only had a 2% chance, and there's been tornadoes. So even if you're on the worst risk, it does not mean you're not going to get a tornado, or it does not mean you're not going to get the biggest, or it does not mean that you're not going to get severe weather whatsoever. So just always be ready. If you're in any risk, just obviously just have a plan just in case. Even if you're not in the worst risk, whether it's enhanced, moderate, or high, just always be ready, because there's always a chance for severe weather if you're in a general all the way to high risk. But in the wind threat, it's going to be a bit lower, only a 15% chance. So it's going to really, I guess, the winds will be strong. Those areas where we could have those really strong supercells. However, it's going to be not as widespread, or at least the biggest threat in general. I think the biggest threat could definitely be tied between tornadoes and hail, as we have a 30% chance significant risk for hail, and that significant risk includes 139,000 people there. Alice, Oklahoma, Pampa, Texas, and Elk City. And as well, the 30% chance kind of includes Atlas, Pampa, and Elk City as well. And then 15 and the 5% chance will be a lot less widespread. And then day 3, we have a slight risk already there for portions of the far western Dixie Alley there, with a slight risk including Memphis, Greenville, Germantown, and even west of Memphis as well. Let's go ahead and go into look at the next 60 hours here, since we're going to be looking at the severe weather for tomorrow, and as well the big snowstorm throughout the weekend. So into the next around 12ish hours, severe weather will mainly be dead. It's going to be really early. K values will be a lot lower. Also going to watch out for some big time flooding across this general region here. I'm getting a lot later though, in the next 21 hours, so more into the evening. We're going to really watch out for some storms developing there across Kansas, and some scattered supercells that could develop, quite frankly, across northern Texas, and as well the flooding developing across the Ohio Valley, and as well as portions of the Tennessee Valley. But there you see that storm is going to really start to ramp up, that snowstorm there. That cold is going to really rush in quite quickly as that high pressure makes its way there, and that low pressure is going to really gain a lot of strength here. But already on the front, I'm going to really watch out for some severe weather across this general region here, of course, as well northern Texas, and that kind of flooding going to be more toward the east. But that's going to be a lot, quite significant actually. Well, I don't mean to put things in there, but quite significant snow across this general region here throughout tomorrow. So gotta definitely watch out, as we could see some widespread blizzard conditions. And as we get later into the evening tomorrow into early Sunday, that severe weather, of course, will be quite significant. Obviously, it's going to be more of a evening event for severe weather tomorrow. That's kind of typically the time we see that worst severe weather in the evening, because you have a whole day of cape that just builds up, and then they all blow up in the evening as the sun goes down. So I really watch out specifically in the evening tomorrow across the general region, and that big significant snowstorm there across the western plains there in Colorado and Wyoming. Gotta really watch out for some rough blizzard conditions. They're definitely not going to be fun whatsoever to drive in or travel in. And then we get now the next 48 hours here. This rain's going to be really widespread. It's going to be so widespread because the temperatures are going to be so warm for so many people. I mean, obviously this happened in January. All this will probably be snow too. But since it's so warm in this whole eastern United States, and that's going to really allow all this precipitation to stay as rain, with the high pressure being way up there, that coldest air is going to kind of stay limited into anything, I guess, anything east of the Rockies. Really won't get too much unless you're right in Nebraska. But obviously we will get some snow later on developing as the cold air will finally make its way portion of the Dakotas, and we will get some snow at least in the north central plains there and South Dakota there, as well as portions of Nebraska. So we will get some good snow, at least right there near Rapid City. Some good snow maybe near Valentine, Nebraska, but it's going to really be limited though. Kind of sticking within this region here. I guess it's going to really stick around this region. We may see some snow across the Midwest. However, models are still kind of a little iffy on that. But of course, going to really watch out for severe weather threat to carry on, not just as well into Sunday, but as well even Monday, carrying on to a portion of the Ozarks and as well later on into portions of Dixie Alley. So really gonna be a pretty long term throughout the weekend to early next week thing. So gonna really watch out for this major blizzard and as well as some widespread severe weather. So here's a look at the NAM 3 kilometer snowfall for the Midwest for the next 60 hours. And this is absolutely ridiculous, the amount of snow we're going to be seeing. As you see right near Rapid City, we may see possibly 55 or even 60 inches of snowfall. So getting really near possibly 5 feet of snow. And as well as some scattered areas near Wyoming there, could see over possibly 4 feet of snow. As well even to Utah. So we're going to be seeing a ton of snow throughout these areas, as well even outside the mountains like western Nebraska, and can possibly get 2 feet, even 3 feet of snowfall, possibly over 5 feet there near Mount Rushmore. And this higher elevations there in Wyoming, we're going to be seeing a ton of snow, over 55 inches of snowfall. They're going to be seeing a ton of snow there for Cheyenne, but this is going to be the general bullseye for the snows. And we're kind of staying mainly in the mountain regions. However, some areas just outside the mountains could get some snow there. And so that snow will carry on into the Midwest as well. Portion of the southern South Dakota carrying on to upper Nebraska, could possibly get over half foot. And that snow kind of will gradually weaken over time as it does move eastward. That low pressure, we'll be seeing some warmer temperatures. So that snow will kind of be more limited towards the actual Midwest there in Iowa, Minnesota, and then the eastern half of South Dakota. So there's going to be a really big difference between western South Dakota, western Nebraska, and the eastern half of the states. You can go get 5 feet here and maybe even a trace there. And it's obviously a large, widespread state, but it's not really a big difference or a snowfall difference you're used to. Seeing 5 feet here and nothing here. It's definitely very interesting here. That's going to be taken part because of all the warm temperature we'll be seeing here. Seeing some 50s, obviously, earlier this week. And it's obviously some areas will be below freezing in this general region. However, it's just going to be a lot warmer than it usually will be at this normal time of the year here. So this is what the NAM is showing here. And this is what look at the European. So very similar. However, European is going to get more significant, more towards the north and as well towards the east. As you see, European taking over half foot into the Midwest there, and even getting a possibly near a foot more into south central South Dakota, and getting that pretty significant snow all the way back to what we're just talking about, to the eastern half of South Dakota there, 7 to 8 inches. So there's still a lot of model disagreements on specific regions. However, in general, they are, I guess, related, or they're I guess similar. There's just some areas where we gotta, I guess, check in, because some of these models don't show any snow really whatsoever near upper Illinois, near Rockford, or even upper Iowa. But however, some other models are showing a ton of snow, like the European. So just gotta watch out a little bit. However, the European in general is agreeing with the NAM on the general hotspot regions, getting possibly 21 inches there near Denver. Quite a big difference compared to the NAM. The NAM showed only about a foot, but 20 plus inches there across northern Colorado, pushing into eastern Wyoming, western South Dakota, and as well southwestern portions of the South Dakota. So there's still a big difference there between areas like Rapid City getting 15 to 20 inches there according to the European, and with the NAM getting over 5 feet. So there's still some widespread differences, but in general, we do have kind of the general region where we can see that bullseye. So either way, this will be a very, very significant snowstorm, and it's definitely gonna be crazy. But let's go ahead and jump to the severe weather part of this storm, or this, I guess, the severe weather part of these systems here, specifically that low pressure we're gonna be talking about here. For the next 14 hours here, of course, the K will be rather low, getting really anything possibly 1,000, maybe 1,300 joules per kilogram. Even some spotty areas in western Texas, they're actually going to be seeing 1,500 joules per kilogram early tomorrow morning here. So around it will be around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. But when I get later into the evening, this will increase as the temperatures will get a lot warmer. That's going to really increase those Cape values, and we're going to possibly reach just around 2,000 there, around that range. We get later into the evening here, now that it's around 24, 25 hours, it's going to be a lot warmer. A whole day of K just went through, and we may actually see some very good values here, possibly right here, getting near 3,200 joules per kilogram there. And right here, kind of where we have the enhanced risk, possibly getting over 2,200, possibly 2,300 joules per kilogram there. And then kind of really die off. So the main day is going to really be tomorrow specifically. Checking a look at the STP, or the supercell composite parameter, kind of telling the probability in general of having a supercell. And as you see throughout this evening here, this is the next few hours, there actually is a very high risk or a high probability for supercells. A 16.5 kind of right here. So that's not too shabby. It's a pretty high reading there, and that kind of shows because we did just see a tornado not too long ago there, and that's gonna kind of die off as we go overnight. Of course, temperatures will be cutting into the 50s now, specifically in the far northern tip of Texas. We'll get into the 40s and even 30s there. So that's gonna be crazy. But getting into now tomorrow, we'll, of course, in the evening, those SCP values will definitely blow up, and they get a 19.9 within the next 27 hours. They're right in the upper area where we have the enhanced. So definitely gonna see quite some high readings according to the NAM, and even getting a 13.4 later tomorrow. And then of course that will die off by the later at dusk really tomorrow. So we have a few hours really between anything afternoon to possibly around 7 or 8. We're gonna really be watching out for severe weather, specifically in the south central. Now looking at the significant tornado parameter, it's really anything near a 6.5 or above is really I guess not alarming, but definitely if you're in an area that has a 6.5 or anything above, I would really recommend being on the lookout here and having a plan. So getting later tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, we will have around a 7.3 reading there, right here in northern Mexico. However, in Texas, in the area we're going to be watching, we will have anywhere from a 3 to possibly even a 5 on the reading here. But as you see, the values will gradually increase, but they're going to kind of move from south to north as they kind of be following that low pressure's moisture. So anything from later tomorrow early afternoon, going to get maybe around a 3.5 or 4, which obviously it's not, if you think it looks low, but it's definitely not too low. And then getting even a 5.2, even a 6.2 reading there up or later into tomorrow early to mid-afternoon there. And then of course getting a maybe 6 reading there, and that kind of die off of course by later on into the around dusk tomorrow when the sun's completely set. Of course, this year's going to really be favorable for the severe weather development here. A ton of shear specifically right in the south central. So perfect scenario, perfect atmospheric conditions to allow for that instability. There's that low pressure right there. And it's going to be really riding on that shear. So you're going to really watch out for that severe weather to carry on, not only tomorrow, but even possibly into Sunday, but obviously it'll be less significant. And of course, the moisture is going to be just covering this whole area throughout the weekend here. So there's no problem with any dry air to, I guess, mess with the thunderstorm development there. But there's going to be a ton of moisture, specifically right where we're looking at tomorrow. Right here, right here we have the enhanced risk there. Right here, a good amount of moisture in that general region here. But this moisture is going to carry on across the whole really plains and central United States, as this will be a pretty significant system here. A ton of rain, widespread flooding, and of course feet of snow in the Rockies. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you guys later.